You're locked on to the SABC News channel. Thank you for joining us. While the United Nations Secretary General has expressed his concern at the United States' decision to withdraw from Iran's nuclear deal, in a statement shortly after US President Donald Trump announced Washington's withdrawal, the UN chief called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action a major achievement in nuclear non-proliferation and diplomacy. In his widely anticipated announcement, Trump called the deal defective to its core, despite the position of the other parties to the agreement, arguing that Iran had been in full compliance.
Earlier, we spoke to Professor Farid Essack about the withdrawal of America from the Iran nuclear deal, and this is what he had to say.
I think that at the moment there is a small window of opportunity still that exists for the Western powers, that is France and Britain and Germany on the one hand, and on the other hand Russia and China, to still try to salvage this deal, but the deal is in tatters. If the deal cannot be salvaged, the ramifications are huge, not just for Iran and the region, but for the world, for two reasons. The one is a serious rupture in the relationship between these countries and the United States, and particularly the rupture between the West and the United States, because the United States is simply not a reliable ally. And so the geopolitics internationally, this is a momentous moment. People may decide to ride out this wave until Trump's departure sooner rather than later. But I think for the region itself, Iran will certainly escalate its plans for a nuclear bomb. But also Israel will move in to try to what it describes as containing Iran. And it may do so via the curtailment of Iranian influence in Syria itself, or actually bombing facilities inside Iran. This will see the Iranian people and its allies in different parts of the Middle East really banding together and providing a headache of immeasurable proportions to that region and to the current Arab regimes that have been supporting the United States, particularly the Saudi Arabia. And so I think that a war in that region on a far bigger scale than what we have seen with the invasion of Iraq is on the cards if we don't see a considerable amount of restraint on the part of Iran at the moment, and more particularly the Western powers that I mentioned, other than the United States, Russia and China, if they don't really get moving along with the United Nations.
So let's just take a quick look now at the reaction of some of Donald Trump's allies after he made this decision. This is what they said.
The European Union regrets today's statement by the President of the United States of America on the nuclear deal with Iran. Should the US reconsider their position, we would welcome it. The United States remain our closest partner and friend, and obviously we will continue to work closely together on many other issues. But as we have always said, the nuclear deal is not a bilateral agreement, and it is not in the hands of any single country to terminate it unilaterally.
Well, we certainly we regret the decision of the US, although of course President Trump had promised that, had foreshadowed that for a long time. We encourage all parties to continue to comply with the deal, and we certainly will do everything we can to support that.
Unser Ziel ist dabei klar.
Our aim is clear. We remain committed to the nuclear deal for our own security concerns alone, and therefore will work for this treaty to have a future. It is the successful result of a long-term and difficult diplomatic negotiations over many years, and most of all, the deal is working.
Über viele Jahre und vor allem das Abkommen funktioniert.
China expresses regret over the United States' decision. The comprehensive agreement of the Iranian nuclear issue is a multilateral deal agreed after negotiations between 6 countries, EU and Iran, and it is also passed by UN Security Council Resolution 2231. All sides should implement the deal carefully, maintain the integrity and seriousness of the comprehensive agreement.
Israel fully supports President Trump's bold decision today to reject the disastrous nuclear deal with the terrorist regime in Tehran. Israel has opposed the nuclear deal from the start because we said that rather than blocking Iran's path to a bomb, the deal actually paves Iran's path to an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs, and this within a few years' time. The removal of sanctions under the deal has already produced disastrous results. The deal didn't push war further away, it actually brought it closer. The deal didn't reduce Iran's aggression, it dramatically increased it.
So, from that reaction, it seems that the US is all by itself with Israel. Israel, we know its position. Can the other powers carry on with Iran and ignore the United States?
What we've just seen, it's like, you know, a mother watching a whole army parade passing in front of her and saying that the whole army is out of step, except my son. And so the whole world, according to Netanyahu, is out of step, except the United States. So clearly, it is the United States, it is Israel, and with the support, let's not forget, of Saudi Arabia. So it's this kind of axis that's been working here. I think what clearly in the statement, certainly from the EU and the others, people are trying to preserve an image of a relationship with the USA, and it's our primary partner and so on. They have to. They can't afford to rub the US's nose in the face, because the US is still an entity that you have to reckon with, that you have to deal with. But it is quite clear from all the other spokespersons, from the EU to Germany to China, all the other spokespersons, that this is an international treaty, it's not a bilateral treaty, and that they're going to go all out to salvage the treaty. On the one hand, them as a particular entity, minus the United States, with Iran, and keep Iran on track. This they're going to be accelerating and deepening. This is quite evident. And on the other hand, there is, and I'm not quite sure what can still be done, given the intensity of the diplomatic efforts that went in the days just leading up to Donald Trump's announcement yesterday. Merkel going, Boris Johnson going, Macron going from France, all of them descending down on Washington, D.C. To speak. They have been quite unsuccessful. I don't know whether they would be successful in getting a change of mind inside the United States, because in many ways you're not dealing with a policy machinery. You're dealing with a lobby on the one hand, the anti-Iranian lobby on the one hand, pushed by Israel and Saudi Arabia on the one hand. And on the other hand, quite frankly, you're dealing with a dysfunctional person that, for better or certainly for worse in the eyes of the world, the United States electorate have decided to elect as their president.